Hey everyone, the name's Ossy Flawol. The Portal series features a big range of unique locations to explore and discover as you play through the games. From test chambers you solve puzzles in, to the offices where employees used to work, the factories where turrets are manufactured, and the pump stations where gel is pumped throughout the facility, there's quite a good variety of unique distinct locations to Aperture. But there is one area in it to me, ever since I saw it a decade ago, that has always remained in my mind as one of the strange locations of Aperture science. After you fall down the long elevator shaft from Wheatley's betrayal, you wake up in what is known as Tartaros 09. Tartaros' namesake comes from ancient Greek mythology, spelled as Tartaros. It's described as being a deep abyss that acts as a dungeon of torment and suffering for the wicked, sort of like hell. Tartaros is referenced with the Oracle turret in Portal 2 as it recounts the events of Prometheus Bound.
Prometheus was punished by the gods for giving the gift of knowledge to man. He was cast into the bowels of the earth and pecked by birds.
This is metaphorized in Portal 2 with GLaDOS, as she's punched into the pit by Wheatley after being turned into a potato, and spends the entire next chapter being pecked up by a crow until Chill rescues her in Chapter 7, literally being sent into the bowels of the earth, being Tartaros 09. Tartaros 09 intrigues me so much for just how un-Portal 2 it was. It's a stellar introduction to Old Aperture as a concept, and developer commentary this part mentions how they took a lot of inspiration to Portal 2's general style, citing things such as junkyards filled with rocketry parts, derelict Soviet space shuttles and the like, and I definitely think Tartaros inherits a lot of that junkyard theming. So let's look at the evidence and answer. Just what is Portal 2's Tartaros area? With the modern enrichment center looming above us, the piles of turret debris indicate to us that Tartaros seems to be the bottom of the bottomless pits that make up Aperture, as the pits are treated as dumping grounds. Tartaros is Aperture's junkyard, but that's its current state. What's intriguing is the implied history of this area. We see signs sealing off Test Shaft 09 and warning us of cosmic ray spallation, a natural nuclear reaction that causes nucleosynthesis. This seems to be the reason why Shaft 09 was closed down in 1961, and furthermore, this tells us that Tartaros seems to be an intermediary area between the test shafts, and the area that exists at the bottom of the facility, and the area that connects shafts 01 to 09. These giant pillars that we see throughout Tartaros and its distant skybox show us that they seem to be structural supports of modern Aperture, though considering the fact that modern Aperture is, well, modern, and Tartaros has to exist at least since the 60s, it may be possible that Tartaros at one point provided structural support for the caverns they were previously housed in. There's also this strange symbol on one of the pillars as we exit the shaft we fell into. I don't think this matches any known industrial symbol, and I genuinely cannot tell what it's indicating. I've talked with a lot of people on what it means. Some people think it's some vague industrial symbol that doesn't mean anything. Others think it's nautical in nature, as it seems to be indicating some sort of leveling with a horizontal line going through it. Makes me think either it might be indicating the surface level or sea level. We also see various cranes, both around the general vicinity and in the distance, indicating that active construction was occurring in Tartaros even as it was abandoned for a new Aperture facility. I suspect these might have been to serve the purpose of constructing new Tartaros pillars when necessary to hold the gargantuan facility above. Now, there is one last feature of Tartaros I want to bring attention to, and this is probably not one you might think of. Water. There's water around Tartaros. When you combine the way these water pools seem to have dried up and take a second look at the way the area they're in is framed, it almost looks canal-like. Tartaros 09 may at one point be an artificial lake or even a real cavern lake that Aperture created canal systems for. And honestly, that sounds kind of awesome. Imagine Aperture utilizing underground waterways to get from one test shaft to another. That'd be sick. Might even explain the Borealis' area to construction. Apply the cranes to this concept of Tartaros with a water-related canal system, and maybe you could extrapolate the idea that Aperture used the Tartaros canals to load ships and bring resources throughout Old Aperture. There is so many cool concepts you could do with a little bit of imagination, just extrapolating from what we see in a single area. Now, that's about anything we can figure out from the game as it released. Do we know anything about the beta? Unfortunately for this section of the video, there's been no real major leaks for Portal 2, and as a result, information on how Tartaros was like throughout Portal 2's development is minimal. We have a few concept art pieces, one of which depicts a visual reference to the Tartaros pillars for the environment artists to use, and genuinely a lot that shows the junkyard aesthetic first and foremost. And aside from them, we get some interesting insight from the Portal 2 official guide. See, Old Aperture initially was meant to be exploration based with no real puzzles to solve, just letting the player roam around the decrepit environment, finding ruins of Aperture's past, and playtesting letters being scrapped. Players got bored basically wandering around aimlessly. They wanted to solve puzzles, not roam massive vistas. so this iteration of Old Aperture was scrapped and replaced with a test shops and retail game. Why do I bring this up? Tartaros 09 is an area that was made for this exploration-based iteration of Old Aperture to stay into the final product, which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Portal surfaces here are vague and dispersed around the giant environment. Tartaros 09 being a beta remnant just makes sense, especially since a lot of players dislike this area for the same reason those playtesters dislike the original version of Old Aperture. It turns into a hunt down the portal surface experience. Aside from an appearance in a custom map pack designed for Danger, or some light appearances in mods like the Cancel Repercussions, the Portal community hasn't really done it much with Tartaros, which to me feels like a shame. There's a lot of unique opportunities open up here as to what could be expanded upon in fanworks, especially with how unique Tartaros is. That's about everything I think I can say about Tartaros 09. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a lot more to this area that's worth exploring in fanworks, or even new custom maps or mods? What do you theorize Tartaros to be originally? Say your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. It's going to be a really interesting one.